Hello, welcome to the Inner Sanctum. Where are we? We're in June. We're in the middle of June, 17th here in Australia, 16th over there in the US. Sunday night, Father's Day in the US.
Yes.
We don't have Father's Day in June.
Oh, you don't have Father's Day?
In Australia. We have Father's Day in September in Australia, and you guys have it in June.
Yeah.
So happy Father's Day to those people that live this. Happy Father's Day, anyway. So, Michael Tamura is our guest today in the Inner Sanctum, and I hope that people that are watching the highlights, if you haven't seen the 2-hour conversation that I had with him about 6 months ago, I think it was, Michael, definitely go and see that, where Michael goes into his story and talks about his 5 NDEs. 5? You're hard to kill, Michael.
Yes, I think a lot of people are thinking that. Darn, you didn't stay dead again.
You're a sucker for punishment.
Yes.
Literally. Oh my God. I think that we discussed last time that, if you're someone who's very evolved and understands manifestation and how to, create your own reality and how to be connected to your source of infinite possibility and infinite creative potential, why have you had so much suffering in your life? And you said, do you want to tell us?
Well, it's part of learning. It's not something you have to have. It's don't try this at home. But when it happens, then it's definitely a tremendous potential for learning. And for one thing, I've often said healers are some of the sickest people on the planet. Why? Most people who don't know think, oh, healers need to be perfect health all the time. And yes, there are some who are incredible, radiant health all the time. But many of us who are healers, this is part of our path of learning, not just of service, but it's of learning. And so one of the things we learn as healers when we go through suffering is, how can you not have more compassion? How can you not really identify with some of the people who are going through difficulties? For example, when I was a young teenager and I'm waiting at the pedestrian crossing, and I've already got the green light, but this old lady just inching her way across the street, and I'm going, okay, this is going to take all day. And yet, when I have experienced excruciating pain where I can't even walk, then you understand, oh yeah, these people aren't walking slowly just because they're just going to take their time. No, they're in pain and they can't walk any faster. So you start having a lot more understanding and compassion toward those who are suffering and suffering greatly. The other part of it is we're not here to suffer. So, what does suffering do for all of us? None of us. There's not a single person on the planet who asks for suffering. None of us pray to God and say, oh God, please give me some more suffering. I don't have anything to do. Let's suffer some more. No, if somebody actually did that, they would be psychotic. They'd be insane. So then, across the board, I have never met or seen or heard about someone who hasn't suffered, at least some. How come every single human being suffers on this planet when that's not our purpose? We're not here to suffer. And we don't even ask for it. It's ask and you shall receive. But none of us ask for suffering, yet we get a lot. So what's that about, right? And if this place was a paradise, we wouldn't want to leave. So it's very difficult here. Even the Buddha, after his enlightenment, said it's very difficult to be a human being here on his path. And it's meant to be that way because we're going, when we suffer enough, we just go, wait a minute, this is for the birds. In fact, I like birds, so no, we don't want to even wish the suffering on the birds. So, okay, I don't want any of this stuff. So we really start to look at, okay, what causes suffering? What causes us to suffer? What causes everyone to suffer? That's what the Buddha did, right? He really started to go, wait a minute, everybody dies. Everybody, there's nobody exempt. Okay? And so that's one of the things suffering brings about is when we suffer, we know we don't want any more of this. I don't want to live like this. But I'm still living. Okay. Like you said, I haven't been able to be killed. As much as some people wanted to. Well, there's a lot that goes on this planet that nobody really, it's, what do they say? Truth is much stranger than fiction. Yeah. The stuff that's going on all the time is so unbelievable, both on the positive end as well as on the negative end.
Yeah.
But sooner or later, we all get to the conclusion, we're not meant to be here. One of the things with young people, when we're all young, especially, we want to belong. That begins a lot of our suffering, doesn't it? Right? We want to belong. And we want to be like everybody else. We want to be accepted by everyone else. We dress alike. We talk alike. We want to do the same things that make us more acceptable. Mm-hmm. But the more we do that, the unhappier we get. And so what's that about? Well, the lie, this assumption that we're supposed to belong here, we're supposed to fit in, is absolutely incorrect. We're not supposed to fit in to this place. We're supposed to figure out, wait a minute, I don't belong here. This is not my true home. Then where is my true home? Where do I go? If I don't belong here, if I'm not meant to fit in here on this planet, on this earth, where do I go? Do I build a spaceship and go out to Arcturus? I know a resort on Arcturus is really nice, but they're a lot more conscious there. But that's not even my home. So where do we go? And we try here, we try there. If we end up with tons of money and we're the king or the queen, or, we just snap our finger and everybody ups to, and what would you like? And we say, I want this, I want that. But no matter what you're able to get in this world, hey, at first it's pretty nice if that's not something you've had before. Mm. But after a while, even that gets boring. Even that gets, okay, I've had enough of this. How much chocolate can you eat? How much ice cream can you eat, right? How much gold can you sit on? There's a lot of very, very unhappy people today who are billionaires. Yeah. They have so much money. They just don't know what to do with it, even. Until they wake up a little bit and realize, you know what? It's not meant to be spent all on me. I can spend this to benefit a lot of other people. And when they do, they start to have a little inkling of happiness. Yeah. So we all go through this. We've had many, many, many lifetimes. Every one of us here today have been in high places, wealthy beyond, imagining at the time, and servants and slaves and who knows what else. And yet, at the end of the day, end of the lifetime, we're looking at the whole thing and going, did that bring me total, eternal happiness? No, it didn't. It was very fleeting. Mm. So, and then usually we pay for it afterwards. Yeah. And so it always comes back to some form of unhappiness and a letdown. And so finally we go, hey, what's wrong with this picture? Something's not working. Been through everything. Been there, done that. And yes, some things were fantastic, but it didn't last.
Yeah.
And where do I go? What do I do to have eternal peace, eternal joyousness, limitless love that doesn't end? Instead of one day, oh, I'm in love, and the next day, oh, I hate you. That's what everybody goes through. And so finally, when we start to look at that, and we exhausted all the possibilities out here, because we're smart, after a while, we start figuring out, I don't have to do every little thing. I can figure out that, okay, nothing else is going to work. Then we turn our attention inward. There's nowhere else to go. Some of us might have lifetimes in the past where it got so depressing, so, terrible, we just kill ourselves thinking, okay, I'm going to put an end to this. And guess what? It didn't end. It just prolonged it even more. So that's part of the reason I'm here is, there's certain things I know that I have to do eventually. Why not do it now?
Like what? Like what? What do you have to do eventually?
Well, one of the things, when was it? Second time? Third time. No, second near-death experience. And I'm in the middle of a heart attack and I'm going, okay, what is this about? What do I need to do? And I'm surrounded by these beautiful, incredible, radiant masters, beings of light. I'm out of my body. I'm looking down and I'm going, oh, thank God you guys are here. But then they all step back. They don't say anything. They step back. But I know, as soon as they step back, I know, oh, they're telling me, okay, this is your time. You have to make a very important decision. We can't. We're going to support you out here, but we're not going to intervene. Have fun. Thanks, guys.
Did they tell you what the decision was?
No, of course not. That's my decision to make. So they don't even give me a clue. So I'm sitting there in the middle of a heart attack. It's very difficult to kind of think straight. But it's so interesting because this was my second time. So I have a little experience, of dying. So I'm going, okay, if I'm going to die, that's fine. I'm cool with that. And I'm not afraid of it. But I also know when I died the first time, I made a new commitment to being here, to put forth my next level of what I can do here to benefit not only myself, but everybody else concerned. So I'm going, and the funny thing is, this whole thing happened the day I realized, it took me 2 years to finish out all my commitments from the past before I died the first time. And the day the day next after, I went, I'm all done with the commitments. Even though they told me, my guides, my masters told me that I didn't have to do that. I could just cancel all the appointments and everything else and just start fresh, do whatever I wanted. And I said, no, these people have been waiting a long time. I want to finish the commitment. And it took me 2 years to finish all the commitments. And the next day, after I finished, I'm going, now I can start my new contract, my new commitment to be here. And then I'm kind of in between living and dying. And so I thought, no, I've already made my commitment. I can't just split. So what am I supposed to do? What's this important decision I have to make? And so I'm really looking at that. And I'm going, okay, I had to get something going. So I thought, okay, what would most people think about deciding at this point if they were in my situation? And it was very easy. They think about, shall I call 911? Or shall I, do I want to drop dead or do I want to stay alive? And some people would go, please do anything. I want to stay alive. Other people, hey, I've had it with this place. Get me out of here. Or other people would go, I'm too scared of dying, but I don't want to live either. I'm unhappy in life. I don't want to die. They're kind of stuck. I don't know what to do. Somebody else help me. God help me. I'm sitting there. I already got the very clear communication. I'm surrounded by these incredible enlightened beings, and they're saying, yep, we'll watch you. We'll support you. We'll applaud you, but we can't do anything to interfere. My choice. Okay. So what's so important? I've been through that level of, death and being on the other side of all of it and experiencing firsthand that, yeah, there's no death. I already knew that. But to experience it when my body and the heart stopped and everything else stopped, yeah, it's great. It's good confirmation. So I'm not afraid of that. So I'm asking myself, okay, this is a life decision I'm supposed to make. It's not about a job. It's not about where to live. Those things are minor. They're saying it's major. So it's about my life, my relationship to life. And that's when the light bulbs start to go on. Okay, I have no problem dying. I have no problem living. Where do I have a problem? Oh, I have conditions. If I'm going to stay here, hey, I want all my parts working. I want to be able to talk. I want to be able to laugh. I want to be able to dance. I want to be able to, take care of myself. I don't want to be bedridden and under the care of somebody else. Okay. Ding. When I really start to look at that, I realize I have a lot of conditions about living. Yeah. And so that means even though I know life goes on after death, life is going on before birth, I've known that for a long time, but the way I've been really living is from birth to death. Great, I'm done with this, and this. I'm getting old. Great, thank God, I'm out of here, right? And always having that as an insurance in the back of my mind of, if things get too tough, I could just go call, Cosmic 911. hey, boss. I think I'm done. Take me out of here, right? Get the SWAT team from heaven. Take me out. Doesn't work that way when you start to look at living eternal life. So I'm going, oh my God, this is the decision I'm needing to make. I haven't made this decision to commit to living eternal life. I always knew I can die. And I go, all right. If I don't make that commitment in this lifetime, I have to make it in the next one, or the next one, or the next one, or 1,000 from now. Do I want to prolong this whole thing? No, I think I might as well do it. If I have to do it sooner or later, I'm for doing it now. But that's scary. That was a very scary decision because I'm looking at, what if I come back? Because right now I'm out of my body. What if I get back into my body and something's not working? Maybe I go blind. I can't talk. I can't walk. Somebody's got to take care of me. I'm bedridden. Then what? And I thought, oh yeah, that's tough. But what does that mean? That means my love is conditional. Yeah, I could only love myself if I'm functional, fully functional. If I'm healthy, if I'm beneficial to other people, if I'm doing well. And I go, whoa, yeah, that's not unconditional love. That's not limitless. That's full of limits, full of judgments, full of pain and suffering. And so I go, okay, all right, boss.
Now,
I pretty much know my next step.
I'm having another aha moment, as I do when you speak. So, what you're saying is like age is a lesson in unconditional love, or illness is a lesson in unconditional love. So,
Every single one of
if
those.
we come from unconditional love and then we come into this, physical paradigm of conditional love, and then we take the journey back to remembering we are unconditional love, when we ramp up the conditions of what we perceive to be not wanted, then
Yes.
it tests us. Can I love myself anyway if I'm not thin or rich or fabulous or young or beautiful or healthy or adored or accepted by my peers, by I'm thinking about the teenagers that we're talking about who are so into that conditional love. They're so playing with, I want to be loved, so I have to fit in, like you said, and like they're desperate to fit in. So the less you fit in, the more you are playing with unconditional love. Can I be different? Can I not fit in? And can I adore and love myself anyway?
Exactly.
And can I adore and love the people who don't fit in, who are different?
That's
Can
right.
I adore and love them anyway?
That's right.
So now I know why we age.
Yes.
I've been thinking about this because I'm aging. Yeah. You get older, you get fatter, you get wrinklier, and you think, why do we have to age? Why?
Yes. Yeah. And same with illness. Same with and exactly what you said. When we are not willing to love without that condition, it's really tough to blow out all the conditions at once. Mm-hmm. So we take it a little at a time, and we run into this condition. Hey, on a very basic level, I don't feel too good. Okay, that's a condition. And I don't feel good, so I'm not going to talk to anybody. They can go away. I don't love you. I don't love myself because I don't feel good. Mm-hmm. That's a very common one we have to deal with. And not only when we get older, but it could happen when we're little, young, and we hurt ourselves. Mm-hmm. We still have to love ourselves. If you watch little kids before they get conditioned, right? Mm-hmm. And this little kid is running just full speed ahead at the park or whatever. And when kids run like that and they're little, sooner or later they're going to crash. They're going to fall, right? And they fall flat on their face. Wham! I'm seeing it so many times. The first thing they do, they look up and look around to see if anybody noticed. Right. And if the parents or their caregivers or whatever didn't go guilty and freak out, then they just get up, they start laughing, they run some more.
Exactly.
But if mama or papa or somebody goes, oh no, my baby, and they start screaming bloody murder.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. That's where the conditions kind of start.
Yeah, you're so right about this. I remember my nephew, who's like 18, 19 now, when he'd fall over as a kid and hit his head, he'd have an egg on his head. He'd just laugh. So if you didn't go into fear like, oh, and you just go, oh, you silly duffer, isn't that funny? And laugh it off, he wouldn't experience that pain. And it's like the response of adults being caring and going, oh, you poor baby, that taught him to experience pain. It took a while, but by the time he was about 10, now he's like, before he was like invincible, and then he starts experiencing pain. Now he's a teenager, he's all about pain.
Yeah. And it's so amazing when, this is where it has to start, is the adults and the parents have to wake up more and oh yeah, how am I training my kid or these children under my care in the school? We used to have a psychic school for kids, for psychic kids. And, and when one of them gets hurt, whether it's they got cut and they're bleeding or they got a big, bump, whatever. And when that happens, the teachers all knew if they had a react, we tend to have reactions, but they grounded right away, got through their reactions first, and then they go to the kids and they go, wow, that's really cool. Let's look at, wow, your blood is red. How about that? Let's check out your blood while you start the process of taking care of them. And the kids were great. They just go, oh yeah, I got a cut. I fell, I hurt myself, right? And they can pretty much deal with a lot of pain because they're being loved and they're not being shunned and being feared because they got a problem. And this is something that a lot of people who are in wheelchairs or they have some kind of a obvious physical deformity or something like that. And people, why do they shun them? Why do they go, okay, I don't want to look at you. I don't want to talk to you, because they're afraid. It's just the same way. Most people don't like to talk about death, especially the prospect of dying for themselves or somebody else that they're close to. But I've trained myself from the first point where I really start to look at that is, when my first son was born. Guess what? Most likely, I'm going to die before he does. But there's always a chance. And so I start to go, oh my God, how can I be a parent? How can I be a father to my children if I'm afraid that they're going to die? If I'm afraid that something is going to happen to them and that I can't control and all of that, I have to deal with that. So that's what I made my daily meditation for about 2 years is, okay, I still got fear. I still worry. Okay, can I really start to find where all that fear comes from? And the result of this every single time always comes back to, oh yeah, look at the conditions I have about loving myself. If something happened to my child, how can I possibly forgive myself? How can I possibly love myself? That's where fear comes from, is the doubt that you're not the certainty that you're not going to forgive yourself. You're not going to love yourself if A, B, C, or D happens. And we do that to ourselves every day, all the time. And that's the fear, that's the suffering. That's most of what pain is anti-loving. We decide not to love, especially ourselves, because A, B, or C. And the A, B, or C is what we call judgment. We're judging all kinds of stuff. Judging it good, bad, I hate it, I love it, whatever. And with all these judgments, we make the judgments our boss, our God, and say, okay, this is the judgment I already live by, and so I can't love myself when I fail. That's another thing. It was really great. The second heart attack I had was when I was driving 70 miles an hour on the interstate. I would not recommend that to anybody. And so fortunately, it was the second time, so I knew, I think I'm having another heart attack. The first time, I had no clue. And so, because my symptomology didn't fit the regular symptomology of somebody having a heart attack. But the second time, I'm going, this doesn't fit either, but it's very familiar. There's at least a 50-50 chance I'm having another heart attack. So I got to get off of this freeway. Otherwise, I'm a weapon on the freeway to other people. So I fortunately, there's an exit right away, get off, and I see I have to go. I said, I have to get out of the car. I need some grass, green grass, to just lie down on. So I'm looking for what place has green grass, and what place has human help if I should need that. And there's 3 gas stations and a Denny's. So I go, oh, the Denny's probably would be, most number of people and possibilities of help. And they had a parking lot with grass, next to the parking lot. So I go to that place to lie down. But of course, what happens? All the grass has totally burnt out yellow stains of, dog pee. So and then some other stuff left behind by animals. And I go, do I really want to lie down there? Okay. But in all of that, I realized when the ambulance and everything came and I'm in the ambulance, I'm in good hands physically. So great. Nothing I can do about it. So whether I'm going to live or die or whatever, that part's taken care of. And now I get to go in. I get to meditate while we're going to the hospital. I get to meditate, and I go, what would I want to meditate on? And I go, right now I totally am not afraid of dying. But is there something else that I'm more afraid of than dying? And that's when I first started to get the thing of, how come I'm in this near-death situation so many times, right? Part of it is I'm not afraid of dying. Thank me. And then I go, but is there something I'm more afraid of that I'm trying to get away from? And the minute I ask that question of myself, boom, the answer is in, those industrial size black and white letters. Black and white letters is failure right in front of me.
Right.
And I go, failure. Okay. I failed so many different times about so many different things. And I'm regularly, when I practice something, I fail over and over and over until finally I start to do it. And I have never had a problem with that. Oh, it's not that type of failure. So I'm kind of talking to myself and I'm going, then what kind of failure am I really afraid of? Afraid of even more than dying. In fact, I'd rather die than fail like that. So I'm meditating on that. And finally, I realize it's not the exact what kind of failure, it's what failure brings. Oh, okay. So now I have a new question I'm asking. For me, I don't know about anybody else, but for me, what does failure bring? And it was right there. So simple. Failure brings non-acceptance, the loss of love. If I fail, somebody who I want to love me will not love me anymore until I make it right. I would have a hard time loving myself when I fail my children, when I fail my wife, when I fail my teacher, whatever. Somebody who's important to me, especially. But even in general, if I fail what I've committed myself to do and disappoint a bunch of people, I don't come through. They're depending on me and I don't come through. Oh, I'm looking at a line of prior lifetimes where I failed in that way. I'm in charge of a lot of people and I don't come through. Or at least that's the judgment I placed on myself. Just simple example, being a leader in a military platoon, right? And I do my best to make the correct decisions to keep everybody alive and still be successful. Well, that doesn't always happen.
So
People get blown up.
What I'm hearing you say, and you know that you're speaking to emerging new world teachers or people that are out there, making a difference in the world, is even before we set sail to make a difference in the world, the number one thing we need to do is set up this unconditional love for ourselves. Because, while we're judging ourselves and criticizing ourselves and not being good enough, it makes it really hard to actually help anybody else, including our animal beings, anybody, anything, the planet, the earth, anyone and anything and any being. So I hear you saying that this lesson in unconditional love is the most important lesson we can have,
personally and for others, across the board. But it's such a huge lesson. That's why we have reincarnation. Get born, and if at first you don't succeed,
do it. Try
again. And 500,000 lifetimes later.
I failed only 500,000 lifetimes.
If you look at all the lessons you've ever had in your life, they all kind of point to this anyway. But we like to take things, like going through grade school and learning some of the basic tools and then getting to apply it in junior high school, and then going to college and really starting to have to use everything. And then if you do well, they graduate you and you get out into the world and you get slammed anyway. It doesn't matter if you have a master's degree, doctorate, you think you got it all and you know everything, and you go out there and sorry, this is the world.
Oh God, I think when you start learning when you finish school, that's when you start learning, any school, university.
Exactly.
That you'd like to ask in any of this, where it comes to unconditional love, healing, death, aging. I've been thinking about the aging thing because I'm aging, and I know that aging. I think about other societies, other sort of extra dimensional societies who don't age. Like that beings who live for hundreds, sometimes thousands of years, and they don't necessarily age. And I'm thinking, like, why is this human condition got this aging thing going on? And we have very short lives, and we age very quickly and very soon, and we all have all this. And you've really answered it. It's really about unconditional love. I think that once you've mastered that, you don't need to do the aging thing, because you don't need that lesson in unconditional love. You can just get on with other things and have a nice, healthy, youthful looking body. You don't have to sort of worry about that because it's not part of the lesson. Yeah. So that's really interesting. And I have to say, got the beautiful Quadarina here. I've known Quadarina, well, I knew her 20 years ago. And I think she's more dynamic and beautiful today than she was 20 years ago. Because even, Quadarina has said to me, at some point, I just gave up worrying about stuff, worrying about trying to fit in. And she's starting to just illuminate, she just beams. I just love hanging out with Quadarina. And my dad's cousin was like that. She died at 94, and she showed me photographs when she was young. She said, wasn't I beautiful? And I look at her and I think, no, I think you're so much more beautiful as a 94-year-old, because she just shone. She grew in confidence in her 50s. She started a business and she became the head of it. And she grew in confidence and self-acceptance. And her skin wrinkled. And it was a cosmetic company, which was hilarious. She's selling anti-wrinkle, and she was the wrinkliest person I've ever met in my life. But people would stop her in the supermarket and tell her how beautiful she was, because she just beamed this confidence and just self-acceptance. And so it's really interesting what you're saying about all of this.
And that's how we shine.
Yeah.
Right? We're the light of the world, and how do we shine brighter, more brightly, is exactly what you said. When you love yourself more, It opens the window, right? And it's like many facets on a diamond. When you love yourself in this space, that part of that facet starts to shine. If you love yourself in this way, that facet starts to shine. And so we're working on getting all the many facets of our being to shine. Because the parts where we're not loving, we're embarrassed about. Oh, I'm so ugly, or I'm so skinny, or I'm so, fat, or I don't have whatever. We're covering that facet, we're shuttering that window so the light doesn't come through. But the minute we go, oh, even so, I love myself, then we start to realize, oh, these judgments that we were living in, that's all we do. It's like they're not real. It's not the truth. We just make these images in our mind that we call judgments. This is good, this is bad, this is better, this is right, this is wrong, this is ugly, this is beautiful, all that. Those are just nothing. They don't mean a thing. But we sure make those judgments in our mind, and we don't, until we give ourselves the, what would you say, credit, if you will, that we might be pretty powerful, spiritual, creative beings. We don't realize that one little picture, we just put a couple of our drops of our power into them, and they become more real than the holodeck on Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
They knew something. It just becomes so real. You can touch it, you can feel it, you can smell it, taste it, everything. And we live in it as if that's our reality. Mm-hmm. And we go, well, that's the way it is. I'm not making this up. It's the way it is. So few people realize, wait a minute, we are making it up. We're making it up in our mind. And we live in it so much we can't tell the difference that, wait a minute, the person next to me isn't living in the same judgment. And this is what's important about every relationship. When we start to have a relationship of any kind with anybody, we start to match the ones we share. You like the same things as I like, those things match. You don't like the same things I don't like, those things match in our minds. And we like each other naturally because we have enough of those things that match. But if you are with that person on any capacity long enough, it could be a business relationship, it could be a marriage, it could be anything, pretty soon the ones that you match, you like the same ones and you dislike the same ones, they're kind of going to the background. Others emerge that don't match. Oh, what you like, I hate. And what I like, you hate. And then we start arguing and we have problems and who's right, who's wrong. No, you don't know what you're talking about. And it gets to be very contentious to the point where the two people go, I'm not your friend anymore. I don't want to be your partner anymore. I don't want to live with you. I don't want to work with you, whatever. And they miss the point of, oh, what is this that's starting to happen? It seems like it's happening between us, but no, it's happening within me. Because what I'm reacting to is nothing but what's in my own mind. I can't react to what's in your mind because that's not in my consciousness. Unless we become psychic. Then this is why some psychics are so unhappy, because before they became more psychically sensitive and aware, they didn't work out a lot of their judgments. So now, with all the same judgments, they open up to a greater part of the mind field. And they start to experience what's inside other people's minds. And they can't handle it. And they want to go either hide in a cave and say, I can't deal with anybody, I'm just too sensitive. Or they want to get rid of everybody. He said, oh, you guys, your energy's so bad, I just can't be around you. You know, and that's nothing more than being afraid and not being able to handle the judgments in your own mind. And once you recognize, oh, they're nothing more than these flimsy little pictures in my mind, what makes it so intense and powerful is my energy, my power I put into it. If I withdraw that power, oh, it just becomes less than a photo in your iPhone. Yeah, and that you just swipe and delete.
Yeah. Yeah, life is not happening out there. Life is happening in here. Like we think we're looking at life, we're observing life. Life is happening to us. I'm here and this is happening to me. But actually, we're creating life. You know, everything is a creation inside our own mind, which is something my guides told me about when I was asking them about my psychic senses when they started kicking in. I said, am I making this up? Am I making this up? Is it just my imagination? They said, yes. And I'm like, but you know, this stuff that I'm perceiving, is it just me kind of going crazy and going off? They said, yes. And they just kept saying, yes, yes. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Is it real or is it fantasy? And they said, it's all fantasy. You know, all of it is, you're making all of it up, Karen. You're making up that, because it happened to me when I started massaging people. You're making up that there's a person on your massage table and you're massaging them. And I'm going, no, that's real. And they're like, it's the same thing. It's like what's happening inside and what's happening outside is all your creation. And it did my head in for a really long time. Yeah.
Well, part of that is because the mind isn't contained in your brain, in your head. It'll explode. All this is part of the mind. And it works just like when we dream, when we're sleeping at night and we're dreaming. Well, the funniest thing about dreaming, I've never had a dream, and I don't think anybody ever has had a dream that starts at the beginning. Dreams always start in the middle of the story.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how you realize, oh, I'm dreaming. Because what happened? What was going on before I'm driving my car? What happened before I'm eating my breakfast? What happened before I'm on this phone with this person? And then there's nothing there. Then you go, oh, this is a dream. Yeah, it started right in the middle of the action. The other thing is when you dream, and as long as you're in the dream, not realizing it's a dream, everything feels real, looks real, smells real, tastes real, sounds real. Everything is real as far as you're concerned in the dream. Nothing, no different than right here. We decide this table's real, computer's real, you know, we're talking to real people. In the dream, we have the exact same experience until, let's say, we wake up in our bed and go, wow, that was just a dream. But we don't connect the dots that waking up in my bed is also part of the dream.
It's a dream. So
it's just a different
we get to decide what's real and what's not in this dream. So stuff happens.
Yep.
And then we get to decide or not. And depending on our decision, that's how we live it. That's how we experience it. That becomes our reality, depending on our decision. That becomes our reality. Like, I've decided this is real. There is nothing that's not real or real. There's just your decision about it.
Yeah, exactly. In academic school, it's the final exam. But in life, when we learn a lesson, the final part of learning a lesson is demonstration. Yeah. You know, otherwise, it's just an idea. Yeah. We learn ideas and we go, yeah, I know all about that. But the final exam in life for every lesson that we're supposed to learn is, can we live it? Can we demonstrate it? Can we share it with everyone? And when we do, you graduated. Literally, it's a graduation, like in your husband's case. Yep.
Yeah.
Not only was it a choice point, but it was a graduation. And he goes, okay, here's the final exam. I have to live this. And when he did, he had a great death. Right? So that's one of the things. We all choose different ways to go. Mm. And some of us choose that, okay, I don't want to go, so it's going to be a lot of suffering until I just go, hey, get me out of here. Yeah. All feeling, even pain, like physical pain, happens in not the physical body. The physical body itself doesn't feel anything. That's why, those amputees who's had the experience of the phantom limb syndrome, where their leg is cut off or their arm is cut off, but they can still feel right. Because only the physical arm or leg got cut off. The etheric body, the legs, arm, still intact. That's where we feel everything. Emotions, sensations, hot and cold, even equilibrium. And that's why